I'm going to call the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of San Clemente for Tuesday, September the 20th, 2022. Do we have the pastor in the audience? That would work.
I'll do the invocation.
You'll do the invocation? Thank you.
Sure. Please rise if you would. God Almighty, creator of heaven and earth, we want to thank you for giving us life and breath and everything that we enjoy. Thank you for these council chambers where the people of this town can conduct business. Help our business to be glorifying to you. We thank you again in the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Ms. Weinstein, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Right hand over your heart, ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So let the roll call show all members of the City Council are here, and City Clerk.
Yes. Could we have a motion to waive reading in full of all resolutions and ordinances?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously.
Are there any items that require to be agendized?
Anyone?
No.
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Oral communications. Members of the audience who wish to address council on matters that are within the jurisdiction of the City of San Clemente, but not separately listed on the agenda, may do so during the oral communications portion of the meeting. Speakers may address council once during either oral communications part 1 or part 2. A total time limitation of 30 minutes is allocated for oral communications part 1, with each speaker being allotted 3 minutes in which to give their presentation. Is that another one? Okay. And
How many
we have
speakers?
about, let's see, it looks like about 1, 2, 3, 4, 7.
7.
So I'll name 3 so you can start lining up. The first speaker will be Brad Malamed, followed by Elizabeth Egan, followed by Mina Santoro and Don Glasgow.
Go ahead, sir.
Hello, Council, and welcome. This is a great facility that was built, and congratulations to the city. Last session, Mr. Knobloch suggested rotating department heads at the interim manager. Instead, we were informed that Mr. Joyce was needed now by other council members. Mr. James Duncan and Mr. Joyce failed to inform the council that in 2 weeks, Mr. Joyce is on vacation for 4 weeks, and in his absence, he will have to, or he will likely, appoint department heads, exactly what Steve asked to do. This was intentional, deceitful, and not transparent. When asked, Mr. Joyce said he was unaware that the 3 council members, Kathy Ward and Steve Knobloch and Laura Ferguson, were not told that he would be on vacation shortly after taking the job. It's inexplicable that Mr. Joyce failed to read the agenda report because obviously, if they had been told, it would have been a Brown Act violation. During discussions, Ms. Ferguson cited an article in the Orange County Register that Mr. Joyce had been driving a city-owned car after drinking alcohol, yet failed to inform the council that until after his contract was renewed. I don't know if it's true or false, but at least the issue was raised, and immediately Scott Smith interrupted, shut Ms. Ferguson down, and it went into closed session. I asked for a full explanation because I've reviewed the government code, and there's no provision in the government code to allow the city council to go into closed session to discuss a legal issue. In fact, if Scott felt there was some problem with discussing this issue, this should have been discussed in open session. He should have provided the reason. And he didn't provide a reason. And if it was an emergency, that wouldn't qualify for closed session. It would have taken 4 council members. But it's not an emergency issue. So this seems to be a pure violation of the law by Scott Smith, and I'll inform you of another one later on tonight. Mr. Smith forced the council to retire to closed session, and I believe this is a pure Brown Act violation. Mr. Smith's required to explain to this council and the citizens why such something as important as a city interim manager was not allowed to be discussed in public. Obviously, you're not going to just discuss positive things. You're going to discuss positive, negative, and ask our new city manager, Sean Joyce, questions. I have no idea whether this is true or not, and I have no thing against Mr. Joyce, but why didn't we get answers? Mr. Smith is a parliamentarian and a city attorney. Tonight on closed session, there's an item about pickleball. They're required to provide all documents relevant to knowing that it's a threat of litigation. Only one document was provided, an email from a few days or weeks ago. But the only thing that's really indicative of a lawsuit would be the claim that was filed. Mr. Smith informed me that in his mind, that wasn't a relevant document. That's a lot of BS, frankly. The law requires transparency, and so Mr. Smith apparently doesn't need to read a claim to know that a lawsuit will be filed. This is incomprehensible, and thank you.
Mayor. Elizabeth Egan, followed by Mina Santoro
One
and
second,
Don
ma'am.
Glasgow.
Thanks. I just have a concern, and I want to clarify this. So the speaker was talking about the closed session items. I emailed city attorney, and city manager wrote me back and indicated that the announcement of those closed session items would be verbally disclosed tonight, along with relevant document on the threat of litigation. Is that available, interim city manager and city attorney, for the public to see tonight?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, we're not to that point in the agenda yet, but the Brown Act requires, thank you for raising that the other day, at the point that we are, that I explain that how I concluded that there was exposure litigation, and we make available documents, which we'll do when you get to that point on your agenda, if you could spare that time.
Thank you very much. Ma'am, please
Okay,
proceed.
thank you for responding.
Hi, thank you so much for letting us come to approach you tonight. I'm coming because of the community pools. We have classes down there, and many of us are handicapped, most of us are, and they've moved us from Vista Hermosa down to Ole Hansen. We can't park, there's not enough handicaps, there's a lot of hills. We can't get into the pool because the steps are too deep, so I don't recognize the class anymore. Everybody's fallen off. We're a pretty consistent group. We come all the way through the winter, and I'm not sure what the switch was. They try to say it has to do with lifeguards. There was 4 lifeguards down there on Thursday. So I don't know what the number should be, but many people just can't make it to that pool. I've been going to Vista Hermosa for at least 2 years, and now they say, oh, you have to go to Ole Hansen. Last night at 8, we get a call, you can go to Vista Hermosa. Thursday, we don't know. We used to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Now we're Tuesday, Thursday only, combined with another class. So I think we had almost 30 people in the pool today at Vista Hermosa. So we're just trying to figure out what's the real answer, where's the staffing, why are we getting moved? Because the handicap group really doesn't fare well down at Ole Hansen, not to mention the homeless encampments that are there. I had to clear the sidewalk just to get to the front. So it's very tough for most of us, so I'm not sure why that's happening. So I'm not sure what to expect as far as an answer, or if you can share anything with us on that, but there's a lot in my class that I'm trying to represent.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
So earlier today, the city manager and I had a discussion on that very issue, and I think during city manager comments, he will address that.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Mina Santoro and Don Glasgow, and they will be followed by Concerned Citizen, followed by Martina.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members and staff. It's a very sad time for all of us. As you all know, the passing of Courtney Faye Smith, the namesake of the Courtney Sandcastle Playground, has left a huge hole in our hearts. It was Courtney's wish that she have a celebration of life in the playground, and which we are planning for Sunday, October 2nd at 2 p.m., and we would like to invite you all to attend. We are asking those in attendance to wear pink or something Disney because her nickname was Pinky and she loved everything Disney. Sorry, I'm a little emotional because, like I said, she left a huge hole in our hearts. We've been working with city staff to create a memorial in her honor to be placed in the playground, which will be on the City Council agenda for October 4th for your approval. We will be unveiling the proposed memorial at her her celebration of life, and we've provided a mock-up for you to see. So we've incorporated her Disney and a Disney quote and a photo of Courtney. Can go ahead and show the next slide. That is our proposed site, the ramp going up to the playground or sensory garden area, and to mimic the columns that are already existing in the playground. Next slide. You can see kind of a closer up. So I thank you for your time, and I hope to see you all at the Courtney's Celebration of Life.
Thank you very much. City Manager, can you make sure that gets on City Council's calendars so we don't miss it?
I will do just that.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Don Glasgow. I've been a part of Courtney Sandcastle for many, many years. And I ditto everything that Mina just articulated. And yes, you're invited. We hope to see many of you, staff of the city, attend this celebration, because this is one incredible special lady. And I think everybody knows that, yes, we want your support on the memorial. It's in great taste, it's quality, and it's very fitting. So we're looking forward to your endorsement of that when the time comes in October. Meanwhile, we hope to see you on Sunday, October 2nd.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, concerned citizen, followed by Martina, followed by Rick Leffler.
It's on.
You have received documentation of the city's violation of California Civil Code 3480, California Health and Safety Code 46000, and the city's own municipal codes. Here are some of the city violations of its Centennial General Plan. Beaches, Parks, and Rec 2.07 states they consider the impacts of park features on surrounding uses. The city did not consider the impacts of pickleball noise on surrounding neighborhoods. Our city attorney, Scott Smith, has known since 2016 that pickleball noise in residential neighborhoods creates a noise nuisance. Ask how much he billed the city of Newport Beach for his services that resulted in permanent closure of pickleball courts. Why did he not inform the city of its violation of California and city laws? The safety element policy S-4.01 noise control. It required to effectively control ambient and stationary noise conditions by maintaining baseline information, monitoring conditions, following state guides, and enforcing locally adopted ordinances. This city has failed to meet these requirements. The goal is to minimize exposure to XF noises levels on humans. It concludes that excessive noise can adversely affect human health and well-being and adversely affect property values. You have the decibel readings of pickleball noise at San Luis Rey and San Gorgonio. You know that both exceed the city maximum acceptable levels, and yet the city continues to violate state and city laws. You have also received the study of noise sources and their effects on humans. 70 decibels is like the noise of a vacuum cleaner. 110 decibels is 16 times louder, and the average human pain threshold. Slide 2, please. Violation of the city's mission statement. The city will foster a tradition dedicated to maintaining a safe, healthy atmosphere in which to live, work, and play. The city is creating unsafe traffic, creating unsafe conditions for pedestrians, negatively affecting residents' right to the peaceful enjoyment of their homes and loss of property values. The city is responsible to provide safe traffic on via San Gorgonio and surrounding streets, safe conditions for families to enter and exit San Gorgonio Park, comply with the city's noise ordinance so residents near San Gorgonio Park can regain the peaceful enjoyment of their homes, comply with city ordinances so residents near San Gorgonio Park can retain the value of their homes. This can be remedied tonight at no cost to the city. Close pickleball courts in residential areas and require the city schedule activities that will not cause overflow traffic onto residential streets that have no safe sidewalks. It is time to comply with our laws, general plans, and our mission statement. Thank you.
Thank you.
So good evening, council. I think that we're all enjoying the new digs here. And I have this to say, that there seems to be a common theme in this city where the city will choose to litigate rather than mitigate. And I don't understand it. If the city has the ability to follow their own laws and state code, why don't they do it? there seems to be an ongoing theme where BBK is placing city managers across various cities in Southern California. We need to break away from BBK. In the time that we've employed BBK, our cost of legal services have went up an incredible amount, and we lose. We need to hire an in-house city attorney and then hire outside firms on a case-by-case basis on their area of expertise. And I've got this to say too, is that there has been a settlement agreement with the city and housing as a human right. The city and the county have had to pay housing as a human right $132,000, and I want to know why this was not made public. Thank you.
Nice crib, pretty sweet. I just want to talk tonight about the Friends of San Clemente, which is the best kept secret in town. We're a nonprofit that have served the city for over 20 years. And basically what we present to the city is we've given $30,000 so far to Parks and Recreation for Samantha Wiley to offer scholarships to families that might not be able to afford our city recreation programs, or families that could only afford for one kid and maybe we add to the second kid. We also provide the snow hill at the Glitz down the end of the hill. I know Gene James's grandkids love that snow hill down there. We also do the Halloween Haunt, hand out popcorn and treats. We do the Spring-tacular and hand out treats. And this year we've added the Monster Dash to our agenda. And that's going to be on October 29th. First annual Monster Dash 5K, 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. Go to the Civic Center down there and sign up for that. It's going to be a great event. And basically, we only have two fundraisers, and those fundraisers are the golf tournament that happens in June, which was highly successful this year. And we also have the carnival, the 4-day carnival that we have up in the sports park. That's our primary fundraiser. This year, it's October 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. It's going to be a big Ferris wheel. You can throw stuff and knock stuff down and get prizes. It's really just the typical wonderful mirth and merriment. And you can get 60% or 40% off tickets if you buy them ahead of time. And this is a great deal. Those books are almost sold out. So Brad, I want you to get down there right away and buy those tickets. You can get them at the VISTA Hermosa pool. You can get them at the Civic Center or the Ole Hansler pool. Again, they're going fast, so please buy those tickets. I want to add one last thing that's not carnival related is, since I didn't see homelessness on the agenda, just want to shout out, you might not know, Carly Hunter last month set a record by putting 11 people in shelters. She sheltered 11 homeless. Yeah, that's worth a clap for sure. And she's just really working hard, and I know we have a new person that's coming on board soon. They're being vetted or whatever they do. And Carly says that this guy wants to hit the ground running. He has a lot of experience in the homeless community, and she's really excited. And I think we should really be excited to, basically have two Carly Hunters in town working on our problems. So great job, great hire on Carly, and I'm sure it's going to be a great hire on her partner. She said, matter of fact, this guy is so good that she's concerned that he's going to look better than her, and I don't think that's going to happen, but that's something really to look forward to. So thank you, Council.
Thank you. If anyone's saying they're a grandchild of mine, I need a DNA test, okay?
I said great-grandchild.
Oh, great-grandchild.
The next speaker will be Denise, followed by Marcus Shiro.
Good evening. How are you doing tonight? I'm here to talk about pickleball. I came here before you probably a few months ago, talked about my health, talked about how pickleball has been affecting me and my family and not having any peace of mind. I want you to know that I was a nurse at one time and I am a real estate agent. It is affecting sales of properties. It is affecting my livelihood. It is affecting my way of life. It is affecting my health. What concerns me the most is I don't believe that there's any of you that live in my neighborhood and any of you that have to listen to this on an ongoing basis. I don't see how it's right for you to make decisions for us who bought our houses to be able to enjoy our quality of life and what it's doing to us personally. What affected me the most was a title agent asked me, "Do you live across the street from that park that overlooks the ocean? The one that everybody goes and plays pickleball at? I just want you to know, people from Irvine and all over the place know about this park, and they go there to play pickleball. Do you realize that this was a tennis court of 2 when I moved into the neighborhood in 2014? And now I can see 50 people at a time that I have on video that I can send to you if you give me your emails, that you can see for yourself, of people yelling and screaming and hooting and hollering and the balls bouncing all the time. 7 days a week is what I hear from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. I have to shut my windows so that I do not hear this because I live directly across from the park and the opening and the tennis courts. Do you see my hands? I was going to bring a blood pressure cuff tonight to show you what it does to my blood pressure. That is what I have to say to you as a council. I want you to take into consideration, you do not live in my neighborhood. You do not live with what we deal with on a daily basis. I work from home, and so does my husband. He works from home as well. You are destroying our quality of life and the value of my home. And as a real estate agent, that is criminal because that's what I do for a living. And I would have to disclose this noise to anybody that would want to buy my house. And I guarantee you, they wouldn't buy it. Thank you.
Good evening, council members. I'm here to represent, my name is Marcus Shiro. I'm the owner and operator of Epic Power Bikes in Pico Plaza. And I'm here to represent the e-bike community as well as the community at large. Since e-bikes became a popular mode of transportation and recreation in San Clemente and other cities, we've seen the oncoming and urgent need for the awareness of safety and education for bikers and pedestrians. However, we didn't see anyone making a concerted effort to make that happen in our community. We have, however, experienced a ban on e-bikes on the beach trail, shoreline, and shoreline with no consideration on how e-bikes, walkers, and runners could coexist. Seemingly, this ban was adopted with no outreach to the e-bike community. We are taking the initiative to represent e-bikers in the effort to speak up for equal access to our streets and trails. Our fear is that other prohibitions could result without representation of our concerns. However, our safety education program could easily aid in mitigating any future problems. We hear all the negative comments made by pedestrians, auto drivers, and even e-bikers alike. The frustrations and concerns are valid, and certainly with e-bike popularity growing, an urgent call to action is definitely needed. Safety and respect of others sharing the road is especially needed in the 16 and below age group. This demographic under driving age is mostly unaware of traffic laws and the responsibilities on the streets. This is a serious issue. Equally important is the education of parents regarding this, the legal responsibility they have for their child on e-bikes. So we are stepping up to hold e-bike safety education and information classes in hopes that we can educate e-bikers, parents, community members to have a safe, harmonious coexistence. We've seen all the comments on SC Live social media and recognize that we have responsibility as an e-bike retailer to take some action in this matter. We have reached out to the school district, Chamber of Commerce, and now to you, city council members, to endorse and assist our efforts to have a safer, harmonious community. We strongly urge the council to consider the city of Carlsbad's response to their same problems. They implemented an exemplary program in creating a safer environment for e-bikers and their community, and they understood the urgent need and acted upon it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have a question of the speaker, just one question. Will your classes be free of charge to those who take the classes, or they will be at a
We're
cost?
estimating a $10
Okay, nominal.
nominal charge for that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Definitely wouldn't go to us. We'd use it for a future event.
All right, excellent, thank you.
Okay. That's all for oral communications. All items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion without discussion unless council, staff, or the public requests removal of an item for separate discussion and action. The public has requested the removal of items 4A1 and 4C.
Council, you have anything you want to take off?
Mayor, I had 4A1 also, and I would like to do 4B3.
3.
4B3.
Okay. Any other council members?
Nope, not for me.
Okay,
I move the balance.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Okay, 4.1, that's the minutes of the city council meeting of September 6th, and concerned citizen.
Be quick, and I may be at the wrong area of the meeting. My concern is I couldn't find anything in the minutes that reveal at the last council meeting, would that be the minutes that we're talking tonight? I'm trying to find where Scott Smith, after a 3 or 4 week delay, finally advised the council that it is required by law to comply with its own ordinances. I don't see that in the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mayor, I wanted to pull this item also. On page 3 of the minutes, under the safe parking program at the very beginning, it has that I seconded the motion, and I did not second that motion. I don't think there was a second. So Councilmember Duncan pulled that motion, he withdrew it. I remember a discussion on, we
Yeah.
wanted it to go through
I
a
think
committee.
that's right. I think I
But I
withdrew
didn't
it,
second it.
and then I moved that we send it to
Human Affairs.
the Human Affairs Commission, yes. So I
And we
think that
didn't-
is correct.
Yeah, so just on the top of 3, page 3, remove that it was seconded by Councilmember Ward because I did not second that motion. So with that, I'll move 4A1.
But now,
Okay.
I thought you did second to send it to Human Affairs.
No, I said that I wanted it on their own for them to take something up, but not to be directed from us, and I think that's what we said. And we can have staff look at it, but I just don't remember a second that I actually did that. So I think it was probably confusing because someone looked at me and I said, no, I'm for them taking it up on their own. It's something that they want to work on. Okay.
But, excuse me, before we conclude, though, I have a question about our speaker, Ms. Martin, about the pickleball. We did vote as a council. It is not in here. She is correct. So is there a reason it's not in here?
What item would that have been on? I don't recall.
I remember it was noise, the noise study, and we voted to have that discussed in closed session with the city attorney's input on that, I recall. But I don't see it on here.
That is a majority vote, I think. I don't remember an actual vote on it where it would be in the minutes.
Well, it happened, so it needs to be accounted for in the minutes.
Councilmember Ferguson, it's on page 9.
Oh, okay, we
of
missed
the
it here then.
minutes.
Okay, 9 of 15, okay. Let's see.
There's the motion.
There you go. It's accounted for on page 9. Motion by Councilmember Ward to table discussion of pickleball till 3 council members want to agendize. Motion died for lack of second. Motion by Councilmember Noblock, second by Mayor James, carried to agendize for closed session at the September 20 council meeting, that's today, discussion of pickleball noise study, ordinance and claim. All right, thanks, Ms. Campanola.
And for the record, that study is being discussed in closed session this evening.
Perfect.
So can I have a motion to,
For A1, I already moved for A1 only.
do we have a second?
Second.
All right.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
This is with the one change where Councilmember Ward's second. Okay,
Yeah, I did not second that motion.
okay.
Perfect.
You pulled B3 too, I believe.
Yes, let me find it. I had it. 4B3. So,
Human Affairs Committee?
yes, I would just point out on page 2 of Human Affairs, on their, first of all, they've already presented this to us at our joint meeting, but on page 2, under project number 3, which is overall homelessness strategy, it says that discussion followed and it was determined that the chair will address the mayor for more direction. That is, the mayor doesn't give direction unilaterally to that, and I think it probably says that because you were at the meeting and they were just talking, but I think it shouldn't be in the minutes of that. And then it also says it again on page 3. It says Chair Edon will review any items being added to the new 2022-23 work plan with Mayor Gene James. It's just an improper, I think they were just referring to him because he's there, but the mayor doesn't unilaterally direct our human affairs. So I just thought the minutes should be corrected and the human affairs should know that.
So we should send those minutes back to Human Affairs?
Just with the correction that they should be aware of it, but we can't have the saying that. I think they were just referring to you because you were there at the meeting.
Okay.
Right. So with that, I'll move for B3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Great work plan, by the way.
Next is the warrant register, and we have a speaker card from Brad Melamed.
You're being asked to pay a bill for BB&K, and as I mentioned at the last council meeting, the contract with BB&K requires that Scott Smith be the city attorney, and in his absence, Mal Richardson, and in his absence, the city has to, in writing, approve the person serving as city attorney. And that would include not just here, but work and legal work for the $40,000+ retainer. Anyway, there appears to be no written approval of somebody else sitting in for probably close to 3 months. Somebody else sat in for Scott, and it wasn't Mal Richardson. When I mentioned this, Scott Smith said, "I will explain it to council in closed session." Well, that's again another Brown Act violation. Number one, there is no exception. It's a contract issue. That cannot be discussed in closed session, number one. Number two, it wasn't agendized. So this is a pure violation of the law. This is Scott Smith's specialty, violating the law. Now, what he told you, I don't know, but it wasn't allowed to be discussed there. And I'm asking that the money that was charged for anybody that served in his place be refunded to the city because it was a contract violation. The reason you signed that contract the way it was, and Scott was well aware of that when he got the job, was because you were hiring an experienced lawyer who's supposed to be really good. That could be debated, but what can't be debated is that was why you hired it, and that's why the contract was written that way. Most law firms, for those of you who aren't lawyers, don't specify the lawyer, it's the firm you're hiring. But this contract was specific. So what happened? He needs to explain to the public why he violated the contract, or if he didn't, explain that. But it cannot be done in closed session. This seems to be a regular problem by Mr. Smith returning to closed session when they're not allowed to do it. And he doesn't provide code sections, he doesn't provide case law, he doesn't provide any explanation. So I asked him to explain this tonight, and if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But a simple explanation can explain this to us. So again, it was not agendized. You just can't go into closed session because you want to go into closed session. There's nothing in the government code that allows that I know of. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a question, Mayor, is there a specific invoice for the services for the attorney that sat in our meetings that was not Scott and was not the second attorney that was referenced in the contract? Is there a specific invoice that we're talking about?
I assume it's a regular one, but we don't get those, we're not allowed to review them.
I guess, Mr. City Attorney, is there a charge for any legal services for attorneys that were not designated in the contract yourself, or the secondary, I forget, who's the secondary?
I don't have the detail on these invoices, Councilmember. It's,
Yeah,
we can check.
that's
It's
an
from
issue, it's an issue
9/16.
for me, and it's a simple issue. We have a contract that says Scott's our attorney, in his absence, Mal Richardson sits in, and in Mal's absence, the council has to approve a specific attorney.
Councilmember, can I suggest that you make a motion to agendize that review of that contract?
Yeah, I think it warrants taking a look at.
I'll second that. Can we get a third on that to get a staff
Yes,
report?
I'll be the third.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I
Move the
could,
item.
That's
I
a
did miss two
contract issue
meetings.
that could be
I
easily
know that
answered
means,
in a
yeah.
discussion with the city manager. And I don't think it should be on a council agenda.
We've already voted on that.
We already voted.
In
It's a
response to
waste
the
of time.
question.
Yes.
I was gone this summer. The council altered its meeting schedule for the summer. I did communicate with the council that I would be gone and it would be covering, urge you to express any concern you had, and I didn't hear any, so I just want to get that on the record.
Okay. But I think it'd be a healthy exercise for us to take a look at that contract and discuss it in open session. City Clerk.
Is there a motion to approve the warrant register?
I'll move to approve the
Second.
warrant register.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Okay. Moving on to reports, the first item is Public Safety Committee update of September 20th.
That's not a presentation, right, Mayor? So can I asked the city manager earlier if he could check with staff what had been done on this issue. City manager, were you able to discuss that with staff at all? It's an issue of San Gregorio Park that, a request from the Public Safety Committee.
It does, and it may well have been an issue. I think staff with good intentions may have intended to make a presentation
Okay.
for a question that it could be argued has been asked and answered, but we were sensitive to the concerns of the externalities associated with increased activity at San Gregorio Park. It was proposed that the Public Safety Committee look at those issues and report back.
So, Mayor, I would state, instead of this being the Public Safety Committee, that we have a new traffic engineer, and that it should be our staff in Public Works that should be looking at streets, and for a safety issue, then the Public Safety Committee. So this is just something that we can ask staff to look at and report back.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I second that.
Okay, so that's a motion and a second.
I did just receive a speaker card. If you'd like to hear that before you vote,
Okay.
from Concerned Citizen.
We do have Rick Loeffler here, who is the chair of the Public Safety Committee, who submitted the agendas of this item, and Mayor James was present when this item was discussed. So my sincere thanks to the Safety Committee members for listening to my concerns and agendizing the item tonight. It's been a while since the City Council previously agendized these same safety issues. First photo. Since then, the city painted the egress curb red with the intent of having enough room for cars to safely pass each other while coming and going. It was greatly improved, but the problem is that the unsafe conditions so overextend the park on weekends that folks are desperate to find a place to park. So the red curbs get violated. Second photo. Since then, the city denied requests to apply red paint in front of the fire hydrants on Via San Gorgonio. Again, because this park is overextended on weekends, folks are desperate for parking spaces and choose to block the fire hydrants. Third photo. Since then, the city painted 2 4-inch white lines on Via San Gorgonio. I have to admit, I still don't know how this prevents families from walking in the middle of the street. The street has no usable sidewalks. The city would stop overextending the park usage on weekends. Families wouldn't have to walk in the middle of the street. Fourth photo. Again, because the park is overextended on weekends, folks are desperate for parking spaces, and they choose to block the fire hydrants, or maybe they can't see them. The city has applied red paint to about 20 feet of each curb at the entrance. The intent was to provide some visibility of approaching vehicles, as there are blind curves in each direction. As discussed with the safety committee, this needs to be lengthened to be effective. The city has no solutions on how to reduce continuing running of the stop sign. I appreciate the city's efforts, the traffic that Ms. Ward mentioned, engineer, whatever, but they didn't improve the unsafe conditions. Hopefully, council will agendize this and allow the safety committee to join in and investigate the matter further. Are there other city parks that are having these same issues, or is this just an issue that's been put on the San Gorgonio neighborhood? Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, I made a motion. This is a traffic engineer safety, and especially stop signs. That has to be the traffic engineer. It can be no one else for liability of the city.
No, and
You got a second and a third.
I think we do have the Public Safety Committee engaged in a lot of different projects. This does seem to be something that our traffic engineering folks have a closer expertise to. So let's give them the shot to remedy this. I agree, if the problem hasn't been solved with the measures we've taken, then let's look at other measures. And hopefully they will.
Okay.
Was a vote taken?
Yeah,
We have a motion by Ward, second by Duncan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you,
Next
City
item
Clerk.
is to schedule a meeting for Public Safety Committee interviews and appointments.
So Mayor and Council, we do have one seat open for a Public Safety Committee member. We have 3 qualified candidates that have submitted applications, so we just need to set an interview date and time. Our next council meeting, October 4th, is scheduled to begin at 3 o'clock to have an extra closed session, so we probably don't want to do it that day. We could do October 3rd at 4 o'clock, October 6th at 4 o'clock.
Give me the date of the week when you say that.
Monday, October 3rd?
At 4?
Yes.
That works for me.
No staff has to be present for that other than you, right?
Correct.
Okay,
4 o'clock?
I can do it. Would you add it to our calendars?
Yes,
please.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What was that date again, October 3rd?
Excuse me, October
3rd.
3rd at 4 o'clock. That works across the board?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, next item is city manager.
Mr. Mayor, as consistent with what you had mentioned, it has been brought to our attention that there are some scheduling conflicts and also some, frankly, some understaffing that could better accommodate water aerobics and twinge in the hinges, new term for me, and also some swim lessons. And so I have a meeting with staff this week to discuss all of those issues and other related issues, including blocking of the pathway that would allow for more convenient access to the pool. And it is noted the preference for the water aerobics and twinge in the hinges classes. And so I'll be discussing those, our staffing levels, our programming, and everything related with staff this week, with and examining every available opportunity for us to improve our services and access to them, with the idea of developing some solutions that we can implement in the very near future.
Very good. Thank you.
I have also some city manager approved contracts. These are contracts that were executed by my predecessor. I will attempt to list them and explain as best I can my understanding of those contracts. Underground Solutions, Inc., Kaye Real Pump Station Potholing, $15,185. AmeriNational CDBG Home Rehabilitation Loan Program Services, $12,000. Engineering Solutions Services On-Call Grant Funding Assistance, $48,000. Staff requested 3 statement of qualifications for this contract. Engineering Solutions Services was the only firm that responded with a statement of qualifications. Sancon Technologies, NECR Alley Sanitation Sewer Rehabilitation, $27,840. Bob Hall and Associates, City Manager Recruitment, $22,500. Parent to Parent American Rescue Plan Grant Agreement, $3,000. Boys and Girls Club American Rescue Plan Grant Agreement, $10,000. And finally, Wellness and Prevention American Rescue Plan Grant Agreement, $10,000. City Council approved the grant amount, and a notice of funding was issued, and applications were submitted to the city.
Thank you, sir. Anything else, City Manager?
No, sir.
Welcome to the team, Sean.
Yeah.
Thank
I would just like to say, Mr. Joyce and I had a prolonged conversation regarding swim hours and what we're going to do at the swimming pool, and I will tell you that he is completely committed to keeping those pools open and accessible to the public. City Clerk.
Yes, City Attorney?
Thanks, Mayor and Council. I did want to report that at the last City Council meeting, the council discussed in closed session real estate located at the corner of La Pata and Avenida Vista Hermosa. The council voted unanimously to have brought back for its consideration this evening the exclusive negotiating agreement that appears later on your agenda. So we needed to, and it was a unanimous vote, action that was taken. I don't usually do this, but if I could take the liberty of correcting a couple of misrepresentations made a little bit early about me and my firm. The city attorney of Newport Beach is an in-house employee of the city council. My firm doesn't represent them. When they faced the litigation relating to pickleball, there was a solicitation for litigation firms that might defend the city. My partners were successful in that solicitation and worked as special counsel to the city. I had nothing to do with the case. I still don't know what it was about, but I didn't want that to sit on the record without a response. That our legal fees have gone up since I've been here is not true either. The city council, when I first started, was concerned about 38 sober living homes in the town that we gave them a budget for, and the council voted to close, which we did. They didn't want a freeway going through the middle of the city. My partners actually absorbed that expense of $40,000 each. They didn't want market forces to determine the disposition of the hospital site, and they were concerned about vacation rentals and having some semblance of local regulation over those. Those, in the early stages of my representation, were expensive lawsuits. Since then, with your help of this council, we've cut that peak budget by half. And that's all in a budget report that I've given to the council the last 2 years, again, based on budget parameters that the city council approved annually in its budget building. But I just don't like to hear those misrepresentations made when I can provide facts to counter them. So thanks for that opportunity.
Very good.
Can we speak to this item?
No.
Can I? Are we on council comments?
We are still on city attorney. Are we done with?
Oh, that's all. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. It's not an item.
It is not.
It's, Mayor, it's not. It's a comment.
It's an item I'm allowed to speak to it.
There's plenty of opportunity under the open forum to speak to. It's my report.
Okay.
And if there's a
So,
point of
Mayor,
order.
I have an item. that I-
Okay,
we
please.
we have a form for points of order that can be addressed if someone would like to
Thank
submit.
I would like to announce that Chief Fennessy, Brian Fennessy of the Orange County Fire Authority, has been chosen as the Fire Chief of the Year by the State Fire Marshals. I think it's the State Fire Marshal Association. I'm looking for it right now. the California Fire Chiefs Association voted for him. What is notable is that this award is in honor of the retired State Fire Marshal Ron Coleman, who was San Clemente's fire department, our old chief, many years ago, and he was a very dedicated fire marshal for the state of California. And so it's I think, doubly special for that to be awarded to Chief Fennessy. What I would like to ask is if I forward this to the city manager's office, this notification, if the mayor could send on the behalf of council a congratulations to Chief Fennessy at OCFA and thank him for his leadership.
I can walk 5 doors down and give it to him.
Yeah, I think it should be official though, too.
Okay.
But I would appreciate that, and we have a meeting that's coming up this week, but I'm sure the board's going to be congratulating him. But I thought it would be nice if our city recognized that.
Not only that, he is a resident of San Clemente.
Right.
So it's doubly special. So congratulations to Chief Fennessy for that award. And that's all I have.
Mr. Noblock?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to discuss, if we could, perhaps agendize it, a discussion regarding moving forward with a permanent city manager. I know we've sort of had general discussions about, with the election coming up, having those decisions being made by the new council. But my concern is that we not wait until November to begin the process. I understand that we have a consultant that's been hired, Bob Hall, who's looking at, I guess was instrumental in bringing Sean Joyce on board. And I assume, I don't know for sure, but I assume that he's also in the process of recruiting for a permanent city manager. So I guess I'd like to maybe have a session just to discuss the process of how we move forward. I ask that to be discussed because I'm not sure if the last process where we appointed a subcommittee for a temporary city manager, if it's in the minds of all of my colleagues that that's the same process that will continue for the permanent. So maybe I'd like to at least know that, begin discussing that process. And I don't know if we need to agendize it or
Mayor, is
I
this
don't
not
know that
closed
closed
session?
session's appropriate, but
No, I
perhaps
don't.
we should agendize it?
I will support you in agendizing it, but I'll tell you right now, I'm going to be in favor of the new council selecting
Right.
the
Right. I'd like the new council to hit the road running and not have to, the minute we swear them in, all of their effort and energy is the process and so forth. I think we could cue that up for the new council very nicely.
This is a fair discussion to have.
Okay.
So I will support
Is it
that.
not closed session?
We're talking process, not
Which we
people.
did discuss in closed session and which is being announced here tonight. I think it's unethical to be
Process
doing
is
that.
public, process is
It-
public.
It's
Mr.
not a
City
vote.
Attorney, excuse me,
Not a
Mr.
vote.
City Attorney?
Well, if I could, Mayor and Council, I'd recommend that you consider first discussing that in closed session, because I think part of the process is discussing the adequacy of the incumbent interim, and I don't know how you'll do that in open session. You shouldn't. So I'd first talk about it in closed session once you've dealt with.
I'll follow your advice on that,
Thanks.
but I want to make it as transparent as
Yeah,
possible.
once that's done, I think you can come out and go full hog.
Okay.
Yeah, either way, close or open. I prefer open, but close is fine.
Okay.
We can accommodate that both ways, and we'll keep the
And
sensitive
so-
part closed.
You want to take a vote on that?
We need to take a vote on that, City
No,
Clerk?
it's already agendized,
It's
unless you
agendized,
want to
yeah.
report.
And that'll be in our next meeting, closed session.
Very good.
Thank you.
I have an item, if you're finished. You are, okay, may I? Okay. I spoke to this earlier, and I just want to get it on an agenda, because I just don't feel I'm going to be satisfied with when the item comes up, it needs to be done at the beginning of the meeting. I just want to recommend that when we want to agendize for October 4, a discussion on the publishing of our closed session items. There's been numerous times since I've been on council that closed session items, threats of litigation, pending litigation, and the names of the parties aren't there. We all know who the parties are, but they're not there, so the public doesn't have any transparency there, right? Advance notice to know that they want to go to that meeting. They leave their home and come to that meeting and speak on that item because it's simply not there. It's not on the agenda. So, our website says we're transparent, but we're not. And I did email the interim city manager, we went back and forth with I did with the attorney and the city manager regarding tonight's closed session items, and was told there would be a document available for inspection from the public and the items for closed session announced. But if we're going to verbally announce, we might as well put those on the published agenda so people know before the meeting that we're going to be discussing them, and they can come and speak to them, right? So the law, fine, might be just the floor, right? That's the minimum we have to do, but it's not the ceiling. Let's do beyond that. Let's be even more transparent to accommodate our public. So I'd like to have that as an item for discussion at the next council meeting. Do I have support?
I can support the concept.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Well, first, I'd like to thank our staff and really all of the city employees for pulling together, getting us in this new council chambers so quickly. I think that was fantastic work, a lot of work behind the scenes to pull this together so we could get in here today, and it's a fantastic facility. So thank you to our first-class staff for pulling that together. Hopefully, there's no one sitting in the community center right now staring at the wall. I know we've got signs down there, but I know there's probably someone like, boy, yeah. So it'll be great to have us in here. And I think we should open this to other committees and commissions too that may be able to use this chamber, like the Public Safety Committee. And then I just also like to say I had the pleasure of going to the World Surfing League finals at Lower Trestles. What was that, a week ago or so? And fantastic event, really good for the city. I do think we can sort of play that up and get more attention moving forward, and I hope we do. I hope they keep it there. If we can protect our coast, they will keep it there. But the great news was we had a San Clemente resident, Felipe Toledo, who won the men's division. He's in Talega with me, a neighbor of mine, so I look forward to recognizing him for that when he gets back in the country from Brazil, where he's been celebrating. So that was really good for the city as well. So all good news on my end.
Mr. Mayor, if I could back up and sort of cue off of Chris's comment about the need to play up incredible events like that. We have a transit occupancy tax that is about 10% and isn't, I understand, focused on a particular function or need. And I think identifying the TOT tax specifically for PR activities, for special events that San Clemente is doing to boost our town in the larger regional community would be. So I don't know how we do that as a policy, other than perhaps we agendize that to discuss whether or not we want to focus on that particular tax and using it since the tax is on people from out of town. We ought to perhaps use some of that money to attract out-of-town people to come here and spend their money. So just a thought for discussion.
I think that's a great discussion for the LTFP. When you get to around to budgeting, that's a budget item. We've already budgeted for this next year. We started it July 1st. That's when you talk about those policies and you think of, and you do it so that you can talk about it in conjunction with the rest of the budget, so that you're not doing it in a vacuum without considering everything.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, rather than putting it off for a year, the long-term plan is an appropriate time, but that doesn't preclude discussing policy issues that come up, because I don't know how much, right offhand, how much the TOT tax is generating, what a good advertising campaign to boost our city would cost. And I also don't know if you doing that now would negatively impact our budget for this following year. So
Well,
I think it's probably a discussion
on this.
worth having.
We're going too far flung.
Yeah, so I'll support looking at that. City attorney, can council just arbitrarily earmark those funds into public safety or marketing or anything like that?
He's talking about the TOT tax.
I'm talking about the TOT.
Yeah, the council has the ability to do that. If you increase it and put it on the ballot, then you're limited to whether you want to do that or use it for the general fund.
Do we need a third vote for a staff report on that?
I'll support that.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you, Mayor James.
Thank you. I've got a couple things. There's some confusion on cars and coffee. The city manager, the CUP that the outlets has applied for, is that a year-round Cars and Coffee or a seasonal Cars and Coffee?
Pursuant to conditional use permit 16-349, the event is described as, quote, "This event will most likely occur in the spring or summer season for approximately 4 hours midday," et cetera. So it's seasonal, and we've made the holder of that CUP aware that we are enforcing that. We've given them several weeks so that we don't catch them by surprise. That's not our interest. They're aware of it. They have expressed an interest in exploring how they might modify that CUP, reviewed by staff, subject to the approval of the Planning Commission, and that is what they're doing. And we're helping them, the applicant, process that so that a public decision can be made by the Planning Commission.
How soon then, City Manager, will they be stopped from having the weekly car show then? Do we have an estimation on that?
October 1st.
October 1st, okay. Thank you.
So another thing I have, City Manager, is Farmers Market has been in the library parking lot for a long time. I'm not sure that's still an appropriate place for it to be. Could staff start discussions with Mr. Heil on the possible relocation back on the street? And I'm not sure that's possible with outdoor dining, but I think we should look at it based on the amount of parking spots it takes in the library area from until like 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday. So could staff come back and give us a report on that? Can I have a second and third on that?
I'll second that.
So we can get a staff report?
I'll agree to look into that, too.
Thank you.
But we need to have it clearly delineated, the impact of the outdoor dining. It's a conflict.
Yeah.
So, and the parking will be a conflict, but they'll have to walk more, they'll have to park.
Right. I think there's a couple, I don't want to get into discussion, but I think there's a couple of options here. And then the last thing I have is, I'd like to council support on this. Other cities have ordinances in regards to street side soliciting, the gypsy type of soliciting. And this is getting more and more problematic. And I really think we need to look at an ordinance on that and start nipping that in the bud.
What is the issue again?
The gypsy type of stopping traffic and
Oh, with cleaning the windshield, soliciting
money, right.
Okay, gotcha. I can support you on that.
They'll either have a pet as a prop or a kid as a prop, and
Yeah,
it's,
I agree completely. I think Rudy Giuliani used that approach to clean up New York a
Right.
long time ago, and it was very effective.
Yeah, definitely.
So I
Agenda's it for another time.
yeah. So Knobloch and Ferguson,
Yes.
thank you.
Is this something you want the public, not to load up the Public Safety Committee, but Public Safety Committee to look at
And look
first?
at it.
Given that they've got law enforcement officers who are used to enforcing those kind of laws? That might ease the burden on staff a little bit,
Yeah.
too.
Okay,
to have-
I'm okay with it going to public safety first.
So, with that amendment, I'll agree with that, too.
So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any council subcommittee reports? Hearing none. Closed session, there are 2 speaker cards. First will be Brad Melamed, followed by Concerned Citizen.
I think Scott has a duty to first disclose the item before we start my time. It's a closed session, so he has to announce that, and he hasn't yet.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Mayor and council, let me find the right section. There are 3 closed session items. One relates to an actual case. The Brown Act, this is the section alluded to earlier, allows you to talk in closed session where, in the opinion of a legislative body, on the advice of its legal counsel, based on existing facts and circumstances, there's significant exposure litigation against the agency. Existing facts and circumstances include, but are not limited to, an accident, disaster, incident, or transactional occurrence that might result in litigation against the agency and that are known to a potential plaintiff or plaintiffs, which must be stated on the agenda or announced. There's a threat of litigation from a member of the public dated September 13th, 2022, relating to pickleball at San Gorgonio Park. The presentation that we have in mind will be within the parameters of that communication, and so we're disclosing that now. The other item relates to the pending adoption of the updated housing element. Your new housing element contains provisions that are identical to some that were challenged in the litigation previously, and we want to talk to you about the potential for that risk as you face what's before you today and that potential lawsuit. So that's our disclosure in our report. The rest of it, well, actually, all of it, I've covered in a confidential communication to you. I don't choose to go through those confidences tonight publicly, and I don't think I need to. So that's all I'm going to be able to say about
Thank you,
this.
sir.
Yeah.
Okay. The item, the pickleball item, was agendized by this council, yet not put on the agenda. Unbelievable that you would hide it from the public after the council agendized it. Shame on the city attorney. And, you know, it is a floor and ceiling item. How can people, are they supposed to drive down right now and come and talk to you? This is no transparency at all, and shame on the city and the city attorney. City admitted that the pickleball court at San Luis Rey created a noise nuisance. Then it doubled down at San Gorgonio Park. Measurements of San G by the city were at 111 decibel, and Ms. Martin explained that to you earlier. City has a duty to shut down the park. Duty to shut down the park, pickleball use. Its noise is 30 decibels, 31 decibels over the legal limit. But Mr. Smith said that they have to enforce the law, but he didn't say they have to enforce this law. Why not? There are alternatives. The Boys and Girls Club, Staples, you could release that. The community center, it could be moved inside. The city's had since 2017, maybe 18, knowing that they were putting pickleball in communities, to move it to Steed Park. They've had 4 years to avoid this nuisance. And what has the city done? That's right, the answer is nothing. Okay? So they've opened themselves up to a lawsuit. Damages, legal time, why? For no apparent reason, except that it sounds like a good idea to harm this one neighborhood, double their courts, and take it out of another neighborhood. Where is the brain power? I know it's there. You guys can figure this out tonight in closed session. Shut down the parks tonight. You're not going to get a lawsuit, if I doubt, from anybody. They'll just live with it in the past. Move it. I also should tell you that when this park was built, everybody knows, you should go read the documents. These pickleball courts are not allowed under the environmental assessment that was done at the time. They're not allowed to be placed where they are. Did anybody from the city tell us that? Did you do a CEQA study before you moved them? The answer is no to all those questions. City violated the law, and they know it. Scott Smith seems to have this problem. And I think, you know, you need to find a city attorney that's in-house that will stand up and do the right thing. I think that's really important. I think it's important that Scott only provided one document, an email tonight, when I asked him why this claim against the city that was denied, which is the basis for a lawsuit, was not included. He said, you can't read my mind. You can't tell me how I know that a litigation might come. Yes, I can. A claim is a litigation. Email is not a threat of litigation. It may be a little bit, but a claim is a threat of litigation, yet it wasn't included. Why didn't Scott include it? Err on the side of transparency, of disclosure, not to hide the ball from the public. Why is that always what Scott does? Why does he do the least possible instead of doing the most possible and protect the city? And by the way, if a lawsuit's filed, the players, instructors, and all are liable under the state and city law for damages to the people. Don't allow that to happen. Vote tonight to close the park.
Mayor, if I could, I just wanted to say, because I forgot, the correspondence that I referenced earlier is available for public inspection. The clerk's staff has that.
We can't hear you, Scott. Thank you. Go ahead, please. Yes? If you're a concerned citizen, yes.
I am a concerned citizen. Slide number 2, please. April 20th, 2022, I filed a notice of claim against the City of San Clemente for damages resulting from the city's ongoing disturbance caused by the city's failure to comply with its noise laws. On May 26, 2022, I received notice that the city denied my claim. The city informed me that I have only 6 months to file a court action. I have repeatedly stated that I do not want to sue anybody, but I do insist that the city provide me with the peaceful enjoyment of my home. Thank you.
You.
Excuse me, I know our city manager wasn't here at the time when the council received a presentation from staff about San Luis Rey and the relocation. Was a CEQA analysis done, Scott? City Attorney, do you know?
I wasn't on that, I don't know.
Okay. So does anyone know? Is anyone here that can respond to that, staff today? None of us asked at the time. We just, got the recommendation to make the relocation.
Okay.
Do you know?
No one that I
City
know of.
Manager?
No
Is there
one
any
here tonight
staff
that I know
here?
of.
No one's here that could answer that question?
No.
Okay,
Well, I
so-
want to know from the city, so I guess what do you think, interim city manager?
Do we
Can
need a
anyone
motion?
answer?
Nobody is
to
here
adjourn
tonight
to
that can
closed
speak to
session?
that.
No one can
Recess
answer.
in closed session.
Okay.
Thank you.
I move that we recess to closed session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you, everyone, for the initial maiden voyage. Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Welcome to part 2 of our regular meeting of September the 20th, 2022. Welcome to our new digs. Pretty impressive, I think. Something I'd like to say real quick about these council chambers. Both the police services station and this council chamber was done without an impact on our general budget. It was impact fees that the city had had for decades. And so we were able to do both a police services station and this wonderful chambers here without an impact. Still taxpayer money, but nonetheless, we didn't impact our budget by doing it. City Attorney.
Thanks, Mayor and Council. There was no reportable action taken in closed session.
All right. City Clerk?
Yes, under special presentations, first item is presentation of a proclamation to Malia Carey, OC Hunger Alliance, proclaiming September as Hunger Walk.
I'll read this, and then council will come up, we'll take a couple of photos, and then we'll get you out of here, okay? Fair enough? Okay, so I've never read from here before. City of San Clemente, whereas hunger, poverty, and food and nutritional insecurity are issues of vital concern in California, where 20% of Californians face food insecurity on a daily basis, and 1 in every 6 children do not know where the next meal will come from. And whereas the City of San Clemente is committed to taking steps to combat hunger in every part of our community and to provide additional resources that those in the city need. And whereas, we've got a bunch of whereases here. The City of San Clemente is committed to working with the Orange County Hunger Alliance in educating people about the role and importance of food banks in addressing hunger and raising awareness of the need to devote more resources and attention to hunger issues. And whereas more than 800,000 individuals in Orange County on average rely on food provided, I had to read that 800,000 again, in educating about the role and importance of food banks in addressing hunger and raising awareness of the need to devote more resources and attention to hunger. Whereas more than 800,000 individuals in Orange County on average rely on food provided by the Orange County Food Bank, Second Harvest Bank of Orange County, and Abound Food Care Monthly. And whereas the coronavirus pandemic has had devastating health and economic impacts across the county, and it's projected that hundreds of thousands of people could face continued hunger and food insecurity in Orange County in the wake of the pandemic, along with increasing cost of living this year. And whereas the above-named members of the Orange County Hunger Alliance have distributed more than 82 million pounds of food in the last year through its network of food pantries, soup kitchens, shelters, and other community organizations. And whereas this month of September has been designated Hunger Action Month in order to bring attention to food insecurity in our communities and to enlist the public in the fight to end hunger by taking action, including volunteer shifts, social media shares, and donations to ensure that no one has an impossible choice between food and other necessities like medicine, utilities, and childcare. And whereas food banks across the country, including members of the California Association of Food Banks, will host numerous events throughout this month of September to bring awareness and help and hunger and food insecurity in their local community. Now, therefore, it is resolved that I, Gene James, acting on behalf of the City of Council, do hereby declare September 2022 as Hunger Action Month. Signed, Gene James, Mayor, City of San Clemente. Thank you.
No,
Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I will. Thank you so much. My name is Malia Carey, as the mayor mentioned. I'm the Government and Public Affairs Coordinator with Second Harvest Food Bank of Orange County. We partnered together with OC Food Bank up in Garden Grove and Abound Food Care, another nonprofit. We come together as the OC Hunger Alliance. September is Hunger Action Month, so we encourage the public to join together in partnership. There's many ways to take action. You can visit our website at feedoc.org. As the mayor mentioned, right now there's 1 in 11 people in Orange County facing food insecurity, so the pandemic is not over as far as we're concerned. There's plenty of folks still, with the high rising food costs, inflation, there's still a food crisis as far as the food banks are concerned. So thank you for your support. Thank you to the City Council. Thank you to the City of San Clemente, and we appreciate the support. Thank you.
Thank you. So Jennifer, we're going to set a precedent. Where are we going to form up for a photo?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're the first one here. I think.
Oh my goodness, this is good.
Okay.
This is good. Okay, right here? Perfect.
Ryan, we just follow our direction.
Very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
The next item is the August update on the homeless issue.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Adam Atamian, Deputy Community Development Director. I will be presenting the August outreach report and be available for any questions afterwards. The outreach report that is provided on the screen is available under on the city's webpage under Homeless Resources. The month of August is unique. It's identified with an asterisk that indicates that we had some staff on leave during the month of August, so the numbers are a little bit lower than other typical months. The number of unduplicated contacts is lower this month only because a lot of those contacts and those individuals pass through town, and so the numbers that are reflected here are generally more of the regular individuals that we have in the city. The number of responses to the public calls and inquiries, those numbers are a little bit lower, but I do want to let people know that during the community outreach workers leave during the month, the calls and inquiries were forwarded to other staff to respond to. Those numbers are not reflected in their work because they were responding not so much with outreach, but with just contact to see if they could address any issues that they found. The street exit numbers are actually higher than normal, and this reflects an increase in the shelter bed availability. We typically see this in hotter months because more people tend to not want to be in a shelter, which opens up some beds and allows the folks that do want a shelter bed to take advantage of that. And the new arrivals shows a reduction as well, and that's similar to the number of unduplicated contacts. And so we've got a number of people that come into town and then leave, and they may have done so during staff's leave during the month. So I'll conclude my report with that and answer any questions that the council has.
Council members? I'll go. Adam, someone said that Carly took 11 people off the streets this past month?
That is accurate. That's the number of street exits that our staff was involved in facilitating.
And there's a young man who's been approaching me for 2 months that I've taken an interest in, and he gets housing on Thursday. And
Yes.
And Carly did that all by herself, and so I appreciate that.
We did work with partner agencies, but she did a tremendous job in getting that person to accept permanent supportive housing. And this was a step up from previous services that we were able to facilitate, which allowed him to get off the street and into a motel for a short period of time beforehand.
Very good. Anyone else?
Well, just a question, where was that permanent housing located?
You know, I don't have the address of that.
In San Clemente, or do you know if it was?
No, yeah, I know, I
Not-
happen to know where, Rancho
It's-
Santa Margarita.
Yes, it's outside of the city.
Okay, thank you. And the other 10 people that got housing, they were also in Rancho Santa Margarita? Isn't this a facility that,
I don't know.
No, so the street exits reflect 7 people going to a shelter, 2 people where we assisted with a family reunification, and 2 people going into some type of assisted living.
and they were in San Clemente? I'm just trying to figure out where that permanent housing is located. Is it a motel, hotel? Is it in San Clemente? Is it somewhere else?
Most of the permanent options are located outside of the city. There are some within the city, but those are typically full.
Okay, thank you.
And by the way, this individual I'm talking about is an anomaly. He grew up locally, Dana Point.
Yes.
So,
Thank you.
anything else? City Clerk.
Okay. The public hearings have been advertised for 7:30, and it's not 7:30 yet, so I will go to new business. The first item is Capistrano Shores Mobile Home Park, letter of support for height of replacement coaches.
Good evening. I don't have too much to add. I think the letter kind of speaks for itself, and I know I spoke to you all at the last council meeting, so unless there's any questions, I don't have anything to add tonight, other than my sincere thanks. Appreciate your guys' time looking at this and looking at the letters and having conversations. It's much appreciated.
Did you give your name? for the
Eric
record?
Anderson, City of San Clemente.
Can I ask Mr. Anderson a question?
I need to open the
Thank you.
public hearing.
Is it a public hearing?
Not a public hearing, it's,
No.
we went to
Oh.
new, we went to new business.
It's hard because we
Oh, we went to new business, never mind.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so it's difficult. Mr. Anderson, I don't see any report from the Coastal Commission or any previous staff report on building any unit or anything, or anything pending before the Coastal Commission. Why didn't you submit that to the council?
There's multiple staff reports and permits that have been approved at 16 feet.
But
What we're
why
looking-
do you want this letter? Why are you asking for a letter now?
Because we're working with staff on a new permit on space 43, and through those conversations with staff and Carl Schwing, they've indicated that they're reversing their position and moving it to an 11-foot 6-inch house.
Is the Coastal Commission not your a permitting authority at this time? Because you are aware the city of San Clemente is not your permitting authority whatsoever.
I am aware. I'm also aware that council is the body in previous councils who approached Coastal Commission to take action against the heights of homes. So we have changed our procedure based on council's intervention in those permits. So now I'm coming to you with the revised height and seeking your support.
So I would ask staffs, Cecilia, if you can answer this. I don't remember intervening on behalf of any permits, but don't we have some ordinances on views and with our coastal zone and especially our, the Sea Summit coastal trails? Isn't there like a protected view from that trail? That's a coastal permit in itself, is that, those trail system?
I'll answer, there's a couple questions in there. I'll answer the latter part first. Yes, the Marblehead specific plan and our coastal land use plan do have public view corridors that have been identified within the Marblehead Trail open space area. To answer the first part of your question regarding the city council intervening, there was a point in time where the previous council asked staff to speak at a Coastal Commission hearing where the Coastal Commission was considering the coastal development permit for the height of the initial two-story coaches when the Coastal Commission was considering their after-the-fact coastal development permit. So staff did appear before the Coastal Commission at that hearing at the request of the City Council to recommend a 16-foot height limit at that time, which is what coastal staff was recommending in order to protect coastal views.
Okay, so it was determined at that time that in order to protect this public view corridor, it was at 16 feet.
That's
That was
correct.
necessary to protect those?
Yes.
Okay, and our view ordinance is nothing new. This council hasn't, or the last council didn't change anything. It's the existing view corridor within our coastal zone for those lots, or for the trails, I should say trail system.
So we do have ordinances in effect that protect public views. The Coastal Commission's standard of review is going to be the Coastal Act and the city's certified land use plan. So I don't have any additional information regarding the findings that coastal staff would utilize to determine what height is appropriate.
So there was a lot in this letter to unpack, and it doesn't have any Coastal Commission. I don't think you need to be up there anymore. So I didn't want you to stand
Well,
up.
we may have some questions for him
I'll
yet.
see what you guys work
Okay.
out.
So this letter has a lot of different things in it. If they feel like they want a letter, I think there's maybe a compromise here that we could have, that maybe we say simply, because I don't know that we should weigh in on any of these details in here, but that maybe that we support the Coastal Commission in their administration of this, or we support, whatever height is available that does not block a public view. Because I don't see how we could go against our public view corridor. We have a land use coastal, a local coastal plan that we're trying to get through right now with the Coastal Commission, where we're supposed to take over the permitting authority and ensure that we're following the Coastal Act and all of these view ordinances. I don't have an issue with saying if it doesn't block the view of Marblehead, the trail system, or any of the protected views, that we're for whatever height doesn't do that. Whether it's 16 feet or whatever, I don't think is there a way to phrase that where we're saying that if it doesn't, if it can be determined case by case, because if we do this, it's a flat, we're saying, we don't think it does anything to the views. I don't think we're qualified to do that at this point, because we don't have anything, except you just said it was prior determined that 16 feet did not block it. But I don't think we can say that at this point. But is there some wording that we could do where, as they apply for a lot, I don't know what they're called there, or a coach or whatever unit, that if it doesn't block the trail system, we're okay with it, if they determine it does not block the view?
So,
Is there any wording of how to do that? I'm asking you for that just because I'm gonna try to get that, if it meets their criteria. But they're asking us to make, in the sample letter, it totally backs away from a prior council, and actually litigation that the council took up. And I don't think we can do that at this time. I can't with not having a coastal, even a permit in front of me I don't know what they're doing.
well, first, take prior council's actions and set it aside, because I don't feel obligated to follow prior council.
I'm not, but for the general plan and for our coastal zone, we have certain things that we have to follow. And the protected views of the Marblehead Trail System, that coastal permit, it's already been determined.
Well, this isn't contrary to what council and the planning staff had already recommended, which was 16 feet. So this is consistent with other
Well, I'm just
coaches
saying,
there. So
If it doesn't block
aren't
the view,
deviating.
it could
it
be
doesn't.
whatever height they're going to
Yeah,
allow.
there's no more 2 stories there, as you know, no more
This has
allowed
nothing to
there.
do with 2
That's what I'm
stories.
saying. 16 feet was already predetermined that it wouldn't block views. So we're not doing anything out of the ordinary. Coastal Commission is changing it up on the community.
We don't know that because I don't have anything in front of me that says Coastal Commission is doing that. That's why I'm saying it's inadequate to be able to rule on that. We have no documentation whatsoever And that's what I'm telling you is very difficult to do.
Okay.
But if we want to come up with something, have it be where it doesn't, it's consistent with protecting the views of Marblehead, the trail system, and as long as it doesn't block that, we are for any, just, there's nothing specific that, you know, it's anything that goes before them, if they determine it doesn't block the view, we don't have an issue with that. So it's pretty much saying what is already in existence, because we really don't need to do this. If it's not blocking the system, we don't have any issue. We're not the permitting authority for Capo Shores.
No, but we're giving them the support to the,
So support not blocking the views, support whatever, if they determine 16 feet doesn't do that, we don't have an issue. But all of this where it says, it is clear the Capistrano Shores Committee has reversed course on design standards. I don't know any of that. This council has none of that before us.
Maybe we should hear from Mr. Anderson on that point.
Well, you're
That's-
taking the word of,
I've been trying to.
without anything.
Just, the two clarifying points I would go back to is, there is a permit that was denied at unit space number 3 from the Coastal Commission. It was roughly 4 months ago, and it's contrary to every permit that's come up to them that they've approved. They asked for 16 feet. They denied that and kept them at, I think that one was 12 feet. And then to go back to your point about inconsistent, you were part of that council that directed staff, or in that time frame, I should say, and you were okay with the 12 homes being torn down to 16 feet across the community, because that was your letter that was sent to the Coastal
You're talking about the
Commission.
two-story homes?
Yes,
Yes, the council took a position on the two-story homes.
that they should all be 16 feet. That was your
That you
letter,
had to go to coastal and get those approved. That's the position that we took.
which we did.
Great.
And so
That's
this
all it
letter
was.
is also reaffirming essentially your same position at that time, which was 16 feet across the community should be the standard.
But you're asking us to do all these other things and make findings in this, and that's what I'm saying.
No
that I
findings,
can't
just
do.
supporting the height limit that you set as the boundary that Coastal followed up on.
I don't have
and we
anything in
have
front of
met.
me that says that's what we set. And I don't have anything. We just have a letter from you. I don't know why you didn't give us something from the Coastal Commission that had some standards
There's
that
no
we could
published
look at.
staff report on this incident specifically. We're at the staff level, we're going to hearing.
You
So
said 3 or 4 months ago something was denied. That's an application.
Okay, that's a previous application. The letter that I'm asking for, so that decision's done. They're not appealing it, they're not taking it to court. So in order to avoid a $400,000 5-year litigation for this applicant to go back to fight for 16 feet, we're trying to get in front of that at the next Coastal Commission hearing by saying 16 feet is reasonable and it's expected, and that's what we're trying to get from you here tonight.
So Cecilia, can you say it one more time? What was the prior Coastal Commission for the Marblehead Trails? Was it determined that 16 feet did not block that view? I thought that's what I heard said.
So for,
Oh, sorry. For the after-the-fact coastal development permit, the coastal staff at that time was recommending 16 feet. And we supported the 16 feet or lower to avoid or minimize view impacts from the public trails and recreation areas.
Okay, so what's wrong with saying that we support the prior findings of 16 feet as long as it doesn't block the public trail system of Marblehead? Isn't that consistent with what we've already been saying? But this letter that you asked for is like way too many things in it that I feel are part of, you know, what we talked about before. How many years of litigation was Capistrano Shores in with the city of San Clemente over various issues? How many years was it?
I remember, gosh, I don't know how many times I asked you for meetings. It had to be 4 years.
No, oh, I remember like almost 2
No,
decades.
it was 2013 until, Scott,
Councilmember,
correct me if I'm
does
wrong.
that have anything to
It's
do
not
with
relevant,
this
I
now?
don't believe.
No,
No, it
it
doesn't.
does, because
Those are
some
all
of the
overzoning.
verbiage that's in here is, I feel, was part of litigation.
Mr. Noblock.
I'm very familiar with the coastal trail in that area. I've walked it quite a few times. The views of the mobile home park, the Capistrano choice, does not block the view. I've looked at the little homes, the larger ones, the two-story, the story and a half. There's no view blockage. I'm not concerned at all about view blockage. I think the request is consistent with prior council actions. There's no view blockage at all, in my opinion. I think it sounds like the Coastal Commission has begun modifying their standards from 16 down to a lower level. I'm familiar with the Mobile Home Education Trust, and they don't build mobile homes at 11 foot anymore.
Right, that's right.
And that's problematic. So they're imposing a standard that can't be complied with, which is basically a carte blanche denial of any permit. I think I have no problem in supporting this letter and encouraging our citizens to communicate with the Coastal Commission that they have a city council that's sympathetic with their position and supportive of it.
Is that a motion?
I would make that motion.
I'll second that motion. Any further discussion?
Just a point to pick up on, because I'm generally supportive as well, but are you saying, Councilmember Ward, that you would just add in something like, we support 16 feet unless that would block
It
a view?
violates the view, the protected views of the trail system in Marblehead.
In which case, we would support the highest level that does not block a view, or something like that.
Well, that could be 20 feet.
If I may just add
But
one
they,
point to that.
they need to work it out with
Mr.
themselves
Anderson,
because
please.
they're the permitting authority.
The problem with views in the Coastal Commission, as I'm sure you have been aware of in own developments, it is completely speculative. I've done the math on the view, we've done calculations, it is less than 0.5% is what we're talking about on a panoramic 180-degree ocean view. So it's so speculative that if you leave any room open for that, they're gonna just dismiss it completely. So we're trying to find a boundary that we can work in. And Mrs. Ward, I would just ask, why wouldn't you want the citizens of San Clemente to have a 60-foot
Point of order,
home?
Mayor, point of order. We have a motion on the floor and a second. I appreciate Mr. Anderson's comments, but.
But let's not cut it off yet, because you're voting on something that,
Well,
you're weighing in
I
on
made
something
a, I
that we
made
don't
a, I
necessarily
made a
have to
simple
do.
point of order. There's a motion and a second.
There is.
The mayor's
not
given,
weighed in
the mayor's given leeway to allow Mr. Anderson to speak. I would call for the question.
So, but I'm still, he actually
hasn't
said.
spoken.
I'll allow you
He
to,
actually,
and then
so
we'll go vote.
I think that, Councilmember Ward, your points are well taken. However, the Coastal Commission's gonna do whatever the Coastal Commission's gonna do, right? They say in here, they are going to go lower if they think a view is impacted. So we're just offering our assistance to some homeowners here.
They
It's
are,
not-
but what is it based on? You're an attorney.
Yeah.
What is it based on?
Ba-
We have nothing before us except a letter.
Well, based on prior Coastal Commission decisions that set
But
16.
why don't we set the parameters that we're still in compliance with our coastal views? That we already have a duty to, our view corridors, anytime we review something, we have to go by that.
So I'll allow Mr.
Why not have
I'll
it? I
allow-
came up
I'll
with a
allow the-
compromise.
The Mayor Pro Tem to respond, and then we're going to call for the
Well,
question.
I think your point is very well taken. However, this is just a letter of support, and I think it would be important for us to help these homeowners out. And the Coastal Commission's going to take all of those into, all those
Then
factors
could
into
you
account.
come up with very eloquently different language than what is in this letter? Because it says a lot more to me than what is being
Yeah,
asked
let's
for.
streamline the letter down to only what we need to support them. I agree with that. So if that's
Is that-
okay, is that an amendment?
I would be happier with that.
Well, we're going to draft that letter from
No,
the
it's
dais
just-
tonight?
It almost was
Call for
drafted.
the
I think we
question,
just provide
unless there's a substitute.
Is there a substitute motion?
I came up with a compromise. I said that we should say we are for them, the 16-foot height limit, as long as it does not, block public views from Marblehead. You don't even have to say the trail system, just Marblehead, because that's part of it.
Is that your substitute motion?
It is.
Is there a second? Absent a second, we'll go back to the original motion. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And I'm a no.
And you're a no.
No.
4-1 with Ward voting no.
Okay, if we wait 1 minute, we could do the public hearing.
We'll wait 1 minute.
Okay.
We are waiting 1 minute because is there time certain on the?
7:30 on
Yes,
public
we
hearings.
advertised it for 7:30.
It's 7:29.
Longest minute ever. Okay. The public hearing process includes a staff presentation, a presentation by the applicant not to exceed 10 minutes, and public testimony not to exceed 3 minutes per speaker. Following closure of the public hearing, the city council will respond to questions raised during the hearing, discuss the issues, and act upon the matter by motion. The first public hearing is to consider the proposed submission of the 2021-22 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, CAPER.
Very good. Do we have any public comments?
We do not.
So, public hearing open. Public hearing closed. Council members, any comments?
I would just comment that I thought it was a great report and was laid out beautifully, and I just commend staff for the work that you did on this. Thank you.
Any other comment? Councilmember Ward, was that a motion?
It is a motion. I will move that we approve and adopt the 2021-22 Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report for submittal to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Second. Motion by Ward, second by Ferguson. All in favor?
Aye.
Goes unanimously.
Thank you.
The next public hearing is to consider a resolution to adopt the revised housing element update.
Any public comments? Staff report? Oh, yeah. Open public hearing, closed public hearing. Do we have a staff report?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Jennifer Savage, Assistant to the City Manager. And the PowerPoint this evening is almost up. It'll just be a short presentation on the revised housing element update. Next slide, please. As noted in your staff report, there has been a lot of work since you've adopted the housing element update in October 2021, including multiple revisions and 2 letters from HCD. Before you tonight is the September 22 version of the revised housing element update. Next slide, please. There are 3 key revisions in your revised housing element this evening. The first one is the sites inventory. Those revisions include a narrative and explanation about why our proposed potential rezoning sites are sufficient and satisfy the need to create housing opportunities throughout the city. The second key revisions are in your housing action plan, and these are where your programs are, and it states what we're going to do when over the course of the next 8 years. The changes within those programs are providing metrics and specificity to when we're going to implement those programs and what metric or goal we have for each of those programs. The third key revision is to Appendix C for Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing, or AFFH. And that particular section in Appendix C provides a robust revision for discussion on justification regarding that topic, providing additional data, including additional data sources that have come to fruition since the adoption in October 2021. Next slide, please. This evening, we have 2 recommended actions. The first one is to adopt the revised housing element update, and the second is to authorize us to submit the revisions to HCD. Next slide, please. And should council choose to approve those recommendations, our next step would be to submit to HCD and await their certification. They have 60 days for that certification, but HCD staff is working with jurisdictions to get their review faster where they can. And then in conjunction with that and afterwards, our Community Development Department is actively and will be continually implementing the Housing Action Plan. You've previously received presentations regarding zoning amendments, and those are in progress. And then shortly thereafter, you will see a rezoning program, which will consider the potential rezoning sites. This concludes staff presentation, and we are available for any questions.
Council members, any questions? Nope. Do I have a motion?
I move we adopt Resolution 22-36 entitled Approving General Plan Amendment, Plan 20-03, to adopt a revised housing element update and authorize staff to submit the revised housing element update to the Department of Housing and Community Development.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion by Noblock, second by James, passes unanimously.
Okay, returning to new business. Item B is the City of San Clemente efforts regarding e-bike safety, and I do have a card on this item. Mark Enmeyer.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Mark Enmeyer. I'm a lifelong resident of San Clemente, a teacher at San Clemente High School, and I'm running for City Council. I wanted to come again tonight to address the issue of e-bike safety. I first wanted to thank Mayor Gene James for agendizing the issue and to Mayor Pro Tem Chris Duncan for seconding it. Looking over the agenda, item 10B, I would like to take some time to point out areas that I think the city is doing well, but I also think that there's a lot of room for improvement. Before we focus on our city, though, I want to look south on our neighbor Carlsbad. The report mentions that they ratified $2 million in emergency funds to address traffic safety. It doesn't mention, though, that they did this because 2 bicyclists died in August, and they had a 233% increase in bike vehicle collisions since 2019. I shudder to think of what tragedy our city has to go through before we decide to act. The report also doesn't mention that Carlsbad received a $5 million grant in federal funding for the construction of traffic circles, pedestrian crossings, street lights, and other safety improvements in Carlsbad's barrio neighborhood. This goes beyond just e-bike safety, but safer roads in general. We should be looking at how to apply for our own grants to create our own roundabouts at places like Presidio, on-ramp and off-ramp, among other improvements. This is our chance to bring some incredible quality of life improvements to our town. The money is just sitting out there. We should be doing everything we can to get a piece of that pie. Back to e-bikes, the report mentions our regulations that are in place. There are some great ones, such as wearing helmets and not riding on sidewalks. There are 2 problems, though. One, they aren't being enforced. There are myriad reasons for this. Number 1 being manpower. I think it is also time for the City Council to start emphasizing the need for enforcement on this issue to our Sheriff Department. 2, you can't blame a bicyclist for riding on a sidewalk when there aren't safe streets for them. I see bicyclists riding on, for instance, Cayo del Cerro all the time. And I can't fault them for it because they're afraid that if they go on the street, they will be clipped. On the issue of e-bike safety education, as well intentioned as it may be, the information is not being received by those who need to hear it most. When I asked my students if any of them knew about the PSA, the bike safety rodeo, or any other programs, they looked at me in bewilderment. We need to brainstorm a better way to make sure that every young rider knows the rules of the road. This might mean some sort of permit program working in tandem with their schools, or something else entirely. In closing, I just want to commend the Public Safety Committee for their work over the last year in gathering data, and I look forward to hearing their report on the 27th. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anything else?
Oh,
Nope.
that was it? Okay.
So, council members, Ms. Ferguson.
I totally support e-bike safety. I mean, we've been on council together and have implemented many initiatives to help with education for parents and children, many ways. They're all listed here: bicycle rodeo, prohibition of e-bikes on the beach trail, enforcement is happening there, marketing and social media, elementary school outreach, partnering with Assemblymember Davies. I think we should continue doing those things. I don't support another emergency proclamation. I just feel we can do these things and allocate funds for more officers if that's what we need. We've already discussed that for another matter, for safety, public safety in the community. So I'm for all these things. It's a great initiative that Carl's been doing, but I don't believe we need an emergency order and making the city manager, the local emergency officer, effectuating that again, and just giving more power and control to that unelected staff. I think as elected officials, we're doing a great job already with e-bike education regulations here in our town. So that's all I have.
Very good. Mr. Noblock.
I'm just curious if Captain Benfield would mind sharing his thoughts on the current situation with enforcement of e-bikes. I'm concerned about the safety issue overall. It's, these are vehicles that are motorized. They're motorcycles. They're just electric rather than gasoline-powered motors. And I live on a very steep street at Del Cerro, and I see kids not on the right side of the street, and they're going up this steep hill without pedaling. These vehicles move fast in our community. They're dangerous. We've had injuries. We've had fatalities. And Captain Benfield, if you wouldn't mind just briefly telling us what your department should be doing and is doing, perhaps, relating to e-bike safety and citations. I'm just curious.
I hope you prepared him for that.
I didn't prepare him for that, so I'm catching him off guard, but
He's got the long walk to think about it on the way up.
Walk slow.
Mayor and council, thank you. So a little bit of distinction here between a couple different things. The e-bikes and then maybe what you're referring to, the ones without pedals, are the electric motorcycles. And the point we should make is that the electric motorcycles that you're seeing, there's a number of manufacturers. The most popular one is Sur-Ron. I think we're seeing those kind of throughout the city, and we've spoken about this previously. Those are not lawful anywhere in the city. So those are intended for off-road use, public land, or desert, something to that effect. They can't be ridden on the streets. They can't be registered. There's no way to make them legal to operate on the streets. You have to have not only a driver's license, because it qualifies as an actual motor vehicle. You have to have a license and an M1 endorsement to ride those. And even if you have that, the equipment itself is not street legal. So we've been enforcing those and issuing citations and actually impounding those bikes. I understand that there's still some of them that are out. We've seen a significant reduction in those in the city, but I am being told by residents of the city and some of our own people that they are still seeing them. I know we towed one yesterday, or actually impounded one yesterday. They're still out there, but I think the word's getting out. And then e-bikes, as is mentioned tonight, it's always going to be an issue in a city where there's little option for them to ride. As was mentioned already, a lot of the parents are not okay with the idea of the kids being in the street, and that's why they're up on the sidewalks. Many family members, I think, believe that's the safest place for their family to be.
And do you do citations on the sidewalk bikes or no?
It's mostly like education-based, not a lot of citations being written. We're just trying to create awareness. We have seen a significant increase in the use of helmets in the city. I was just commenting with some staff today that everywhere I go now, I'm seeing kids with helmets, particularly down by the high school, which was one of the frequent complaint areas. So they are on the lookout for it. We are engaging the community when we do see violations. But I am interested in what one of the speakers just brought up about a program that Carlsbad might be running, and we're going to reach out to them and contact them and see exactly what they're doing, if maybe there's something we could adopt here.
Have there been many citations on the beach trail?
No. Again, mostly education, and our staff that works the beach, our beach patrol deputies and our SRO, when he was assigned to beach during the summer, they've come in, and because I've asked that direct question, hey, are we citing people? And they're telling me, like, the people that they're seeing on the beach trail, it's first of all, it's infrequent. I think Captain Malott made that clear that he's seen a significant reduction there. But the ones that we do see, it's probably best left to educate the family. These are what we would call just not people doing anything egregious, just family members out who might have a juvenile who's on an e-bike, and they don't feel that it's necessarily appropriate to cite in that case.
Sure.
They're granted that authority by the law to decide, whether or not to cite or issue a warning. And so they're just kind of using totality of the circumstances to base their judgment on do I issue a citation or do I just warn these people? Are we better served with visitors and with people who live here just by educating them on the beach ordinance?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Nothing else, Mr. Mayor.
So, council, I would say that if you look at the policies that we already have, we have a pretty robust policies. In our general plan, we actually have the bicycle and pedestrian master plan. And so there was a comment that we need to start doing things. We have that. Future city councils need to support our staff to implement those. And I think this council actually said when we took the e-bikes off the trail, that we needed to start looking at bike racks. Those were a comment made. And we needed to dust off that bicycle pedestrian master plan and start implementing the pathways that we said. Not every street in our city is gonna be safe for people to ride a bike. That's why we have the Pacific Coast Bike Trail that goes through all the way to Mexico to Washington State. But it goes through our city, but you have to be riding along PCH or El Camino Real to the Calafia State Park to take that. So we know we have a problem inland, and that's where we really need to do it. I think I know the sheriff is doing what they can, and we've had a reduction. So I heard also a comment that we need to educate the parents. I would say that is not our job. That is the parents' job. If they're buying a bicycle for their children, that is their job. And like my dad taught me the rules of the road. I didn't have a city teach me the rules of the road. My parents did it. And that's what we need to do. The kids at the high school are great. I've met them all. I've seen all those e-bikes there. I almost think that maybe we have a different way of getting into the school that would take kids off Pico. Coming in the back way, going in a different gate. And I'd like to see staff, we have a new traffic engineer, reach out to the schools, because I got a complaint today about Shore Cliffs, people on the sidewalk. Maybe there's alternative routes that we can recommend. The Shore Cliffs might be a problem, but underage, but the high school shouldn't be a problem. And if there's a back gate and we can take people off of Pico and get them there, because our kids are getting to school on those bikes. But I would encourage, let's send that and give direction tonight to our staff to look at things like that. It's just something I came up with when I was sitting on Pico trying to figure out how to do that. There's other ways that they can do it. There's not too many people on the sidewalk. It's pretty much the high school traffic that's taking that sidewalk. But other sidewalks in town, we're probably gonna have to think about sidewalks and a plan. I would also submit that I think our old traffic engineer that was doing roundabouts and doing great things in our city is now with the city of Carlsbad. So we have a new traffic engineer, but it's time to dust off all of our policies and our plan and start implementing some of them. But I think we have the tools. We were far ahead with our bicycle and pedestrian master plan than most cities when we did our general plan update. There's already a plan in place.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilmember Ferguson, did you have?
I think, has
Oh,
he
no, I
commented?
already commented.
Yeah,
thanks.
good, okay. Well, yeah, I think I can speak to this as a parent of young kids, and maybe the only one on council here who has young kids that are riding the e-bikes.
Grandkids.
Yeah, well, so we have, illegitimate grandkids perhaps, as well, sorry. Yeah, I mean, this is just a reality, right? The kids are on the e-bikes. The horse is out of the barn. That's not gonna be put back in. They're out there riding. We can't just say to parents, it's on you. I wish we could, but the kids are out there riding these e-bikes. That's how they're getting around. It's helping parents. And I actually had a very close friend's child, though I witnessed this child had a terrible accident over the weekend coming out of the Talega concert at a high rate of speed going down a hill, and I thought this child could be seriously hurt. Thankfully, they had the helmet on, and the helmet was fitting right, and our fire folks came right away. They were there within seconds, and took the child away in an ambulance. But this was very scary stuff. I mean, I heard the crack of the helmet on the ground, and he was completely scraped up. This is what's going to happen if we don't do something. I agree, the bike lanes and the safe pathways, very important. We've already got that in place. need staff to implement that. We've got to fully staff our city so that we can implement that. We do also, I believe, need to implement a training program that would be staffed by the city and would set basic guidelines that every child under a certain age has to meet. And I think we need a bike registration program so that we can keep track of the bikes, so that we know right off by sight that this is a Saron or whatever, this is a motorcycle and not an e-bike. And also, when there is an e-bike speeding around on the beach trail, you could be able to identify that bike instead of, oh, well, we don't know who that was. And then enforcement's obviously an issue, but the sheriff's department is doing what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to educate, then cite. We need to have staff supported and fully funded to be able to implement this critical safety program. I wasn't even thinking about it. I would support giving emergency powers, frankly, to our city manager to be able to carry some of these things out. The problem is we haven't supported the city with staff to be able to execute that type of program right now. I know our public safety committee is working on it, and hopefully they can get a plan together, but that's what I would like to see, is a certified training program. We can't just have it be school by school. It's got to be citywide, supported by our e-bike. I wish we had the Epic folks here still, our e-bike sellers in town, and an approach that the city provides leadership on and really takes a step forward to keeping our kids safe. We can't just rely on the kids to keep themselves safe. So that's where I'd like to see in the relatively near future, open to ideas about how to move that process forward. I know that there's state legislation that empowers the California Highway Patrol to draw basic training program guidelines that then cities can use. Hopefully that's coming soon. But we've got to act. It's not enough to hold just rodeos and events, which are nice photo ops, but don't actually move the ball down the field. I want to see real action. So hopefully that's where we'll go. And I certainly will be supporting, supporting the city and taking those steps.
Mayor Pro Tem, I had no idea you were opposed to photo ops. So I will echo most of what Chris has said. I think we need to register these things. I think society as a whole was caught flat-footed on the proliferation of e-bikes. This came out of nowhere. I'm not sure anyone predicted this. I was in an e-bike shop the other day, and there was an e-bike there that you had a rider, and then, like the rickshaws you see in the movies from the Far East, for the old movies, and it had like a rickshaw, 3 across seat. So 4 people on an e-bike. How is that safe? Maybe we need to look at enforcing or creating criteria for e-bikes in the city. I don't even know if we have the legal authority to do that, but we certainly need to register. I think the e-bike retailers, I'm always talking about capitalism, but with capitalism comes accountability. I think the e-bike retailers need to take the lead. They need to get together. They need to create a safety program. They need to create a program in which both parents and children learn how to ride these things safely. I saw a gentleman, middle-aged, and it's just not kids. Several months ago, I saw a gentleman going down Veracruz, coming down the hill, and he wiped out, didn't have a helmet. And what would have been some scrapes and soreness, he had a traumatic brain injury. He was in a coma. And, and this was a middle-aged guy. This was not a kid. We've had an e-bike death here. The previous summer, we had an e-bike death between Doheny and San Juan. This will continue, and we absolutely, positively have to do something about this. When I see the report tonight, and there's nothing else to do tonight, but receive and file, That frustrates me because I want to take action, but I'm just not too sure what that action is. He's walking, he's walking away.
Tell us what the action is. What is the Public Safety Committee doing on e-bikes?
Yeah.
Forget about it.
He's old, he might not be able to wait.
Okay. Why is this is this low?
It
Does
is
this
low.
seem
Yeah,
low?
It goes up and down, but.
Okay. I don't mean the micro, I meant the whole thing here. Yeah, just to fill in some blank, everybody has said perfect things about this, including Mark. I echo Mark's comments. He kind of hit all the points. But what I can fill in is what Carlsbad is actually done. I'm fortunate enough, Sergeant Scott Merritt is in charge of traffic down there and has been given this project since May. I know Scott, and I was very excited to hear that he got it because I know that this guy is very passionate about safety and traffic, and I know that he'd be aggressive in doing whatever they wanted to do to try to make Carlsbad a safer place for the e-bikes. They've kind of have a multi-prong approach. What they did was they established a diversion program, kind of like when juveniles get in trouble and instead of charging them, they do a diversion in education. They created a e-bike education program that lasts 3 hours. And then they started getting aggressively in enforcement. They actually have a officer that only thing he does is e-bike enforcement now. And that's what he does every day. He hangs at the schools, he hangs wherever, and he stops everybody. And the first thing he does is, let's say for a helmet, stops him, what's your parent's phone number? Calls the parent right then and there, says, hey, Johnny's not wearing his helmet. 9 times out of 10, it's Johnny's not wearing his helmet. The parents have no idea. Now they know. They also offer, we can write him a ticket, or we can offer him this diversion program where he goes to a 3-hour class and gets some information. They go, I'm coming right down there to pick him up because he can't drive because he doesn't have a helmet, and that diversion program sounds great. It's had a huge, huge impact because it does educate the parents. Most of the parents don't know that their kids are riding 3 people on a bike. They don't know. So now they're told. So now that gets the parents involved. Most parents on these Surons, and Captain Benfield's doing a great job with the Surons. He's stopping them when he can catch them, because that's difficult. Sometimes you don't, but eventually he stops them, the bike goes. It's an illegal vehicle. It's like driving a vehicle that's not registered on the roadway. You take it, call the parents, and I don't know if Captain Benfield has any direct evidence of this, but I imagine that a lot of these parents have been snowed into thinking these are e-bikes. A $5,000 e-bike, we got to upgrade. I got this best e-bike. They don't know that it's not a vehicle that's supposed to be on the roadway. Parents are educated. So there's a couple of things here that were mentioned. Mark mentioned it, is Carlsbad got a bunch of money for this. And part of it was grant. And I've talked to Captain Benfield, and he's going to do some research with his traffic program department and see if maybe they know something about the grants that are out there, and maybe we can go and get some of these grants because we do need the enforcement. The enforcement is an important part of this, and it's a hardcore hit them hard early, hit them often, the word gets out, and then it starts to decrease. And we maybe entertain the fact that we have some overtime money stored. Maybe we could have some of the motor officers, the sheriffs, work a couple of weeks real hard on this and hit it and get the word out. We could have our own diversion program, so we're not citing these kids, we're actually educating them. And then there's the prong of the education in general. And I talked to Mr. Shiro tonight. I actually stopped by his shop today, but they're not open on Mondays. I saw his social media posts. I'm gonna go and chat with him because we need to get the bike shops involved in this early. Maybe they have to look at a 2-minute video or something, whoever buys an e-bike, and look at it and sees rules of the road. These are not e-bikes. If they're class 3, you have to be over 16. You have to follow the rules of the road, and maybe something like that to start with. There's also a possible registration might be part of this also, where we register the e-bikes in town so the parents know, are they getting a class 1, 2, or 3? If they're buying it, class 3 is not for their kids. There's plenty of kids riding class 3s in town. So, right, the early education is really, really important. but the enforcement is also important also. We have to make that part of the fork that we use. And Scott, I can hook him up with any of you. And it's funny, when I first texted Scott and said, I've got this e-bike issue also we've got to look at. And I didn't even say what it was. And he texts back immediately, I know exactly what you're talking about. 12-year-olds in town, and then it was some cop talk, so I won't share that. I share it privately with you, but basically it was, yeah, we've got some kids that are just, they're kind of doing what kids do, but it's dangerous, and they don't know it's dangerous, and they need to be saved from themselves sometimes. And so I think we can do this. Also talked with Captain Benfield, had a great idea. He's going to take it back to his bosses. Maybe we can do something county-wide with OCSD, where we have a set policy, and we all get on it and work the same way for this. But it's just, like I say, you'll be getting this report from the Public Safety Committee. We're going to basically, I hope, give you everything I just said. But again, it's a multi-prong attack, and it's the education, the follow-up, and then the enforcement has to be done. And we need to do what we have to do, whatever it is, to get some cops on the street that's dedicated to do this.
You're presenting to us our next meeting?
I mean, I can. I'm just trying to fill in the blank with what Carlsbad is doing and what they've found to be, you just kind of need to know the whole picture, I think, as you
Agendize a
ruminate.
report for public safety to come to us first meeting of October?
Mayor, if I may, if we could have that come on October 18th, the second meeting in October, it would allow us to incorporate an update from the city of Carlsbad.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, thank you.
So that's, I got, there's two of us. Can I get a third? Yep. No block, James, Duncan.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Now,
Okay, so
carry on.
I move we receive and file the report.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, the next item, item C, is the exclusive negotiating agreement with Pacific Medical Buildings regarding the parcel at the southwest corner of Avenida Vista Hermosa and Avenida La Plata.
Any public comments?
No.
Staff
Do you
report?
need to open? Did you?
Oh, this is not a.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Staff report?
Good evening, Council and Mayor James. This item is going to be a property that's familiar to you. It's at the corner of Vista Hermosa and La Plata, and the item in front of you is not consideration of a project at this time, but merely a consideration of a negotiating agreement for a period of 3 months, where the council could discuss potential terms with PMB regarding a potential medical building. And so it's simply a framework for those discussions. There is an option for extension within that period, and highlighted within the report as well is a desire by the city and that party, or city staff and that party, to confirm the status of the surplus property in terms of the Surplus Land Act. We believe that we've completed all required steps in that process, but it has been amended a couple of times since the actions were taken by the city. And so that is something that we would look to do right away if the council does make a decision to move forward with this agreement. That's all I have at this time, but I'm certainly open
Thank
to
you,
respond
sir.
to questions.
Council members?
I have mixed emotions on this. I think it's good to move forward on this site, but what concerns me a little bit is that the Surplus Act, we began about, 4 or 5 years ago with a determination that this property is subject to the Surplus Land Act and needs to be analyzed and reviewed. The council, before the present council was installed, before Chris and I came on the council, there was a number of offers that were made, and the bulk of them were gas stations. The community has spoken pretty loud and clear that gas stations isn't something that the community has a big appetite for at the present time. This particular party that we're suggesting we enter into an exclusive negotiating agreement with was part of that original group of applicants. And my concern is that there's been so many years that have passed, and there may be other opportunities. I was aware of one application, one request buy a incubator office space with a micro storage component, and because it fell outside of the time frame that the prior review was done, it wasn't considered. And I guess my thinking is, we've had so many applications, so many of them, the obvious solution for a moneymaker is gas station, and the community said, we don't think so at this time. I'm just wondering if it'd be appropriate, rather than entering an exclusive negotiating agreement, if we simply start again with a request of the community to say, who all's interested and what are you looking at now, knowing that 90% of the applicants before that were gas stations, we're not going to be looking at gas stations. I'm just wondering if if we need to step back and begin that process. I'm just kind of torn. I'm not, I'm just wondering, there may be a better opportunity is all, that's all.
I see some discussion going on with the city attorney. City attorney, do you have?
We were just conferring here, I think Councilmember Noblock knows this, to reinitiate that process, we'd reinitiate it under the new surplus and
Right.
We have an argument here that this
And the surplus-
round is grandfathered, but we'd kick it off with a whole new.
Yeah, and as the staff report says, there have been changes in that, so we'd need confirmation anyway, so maybe start the process, or it'd be
I
consistent.
knew you
so.
understood that, but thanks for letting me clarify.
Just a thought. I don't feel strongly one way or the other. I just think there might possibly be another alternative.
Mayor Pro Tem, you had
Yeah,
something?
I get that point, but, we had this open for a good period of time. Anyone could bid. We got a variety of bids. Yeah, there was a lot of the gas station, car wash, market concept, which would have brought revenue. But this was part of that solicitation. It's a reputable healthcare provider. And the idea of going back and starting from scratch again, I can't support that. I mean, there's always the chance that somebody might have, missed, or some new thing comes up, but you could always say that. We have this window to see whether this project will work for the city. We do need healthcare services, particularly in the Talega area, so I'd like to see us enter this and explore what we can do with Hoag, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I think we have this window to do this, and we should pursue it, rather than starting from scratch, multi-year process to get to anything else.
Councilmember Ward.
My feelings, I'm concerned about that this is a property owner that's not going to pay any property taxes. And I'm from the old council where this lot was held out to be revenue generating for the city of San Clemente. And we held it out as our most important lot for that, for future of the revenue. I don't think I can vote for it because I expect this to come from the city manager, and it didn't. And that's how I'm used to projects going forward. So I will probably be a no, but I reserve the right. I'll see how people vote first.
Okay. Ms. Ferguson.
Well, I support entering the ENA on this. We do need healthcare services. They're critical for the community. Gas stations, I know a couple council members here did still support the gas station for the revenue, but number one is what the community needs, not about revenue, but it's about what the community wants. And they spoke loudly on that. So, but I do like this concept. They were part of the original bidders with a RFP that went out on this property. So I will support at least going forward with this for a 3-month period on an ENA.
Thank you. My perspective is we need healthcare in that area. We need healthcare overall. I can't imagine a more quality group than Hoag to come in and offer healthcare in our city. And so I'm going to be voting yes for this. Can I have a motion, please?
Question? if
Yes,
I
sir.
could. Who will be conducting the negotiations?
Should be the city manager. It should not be city council.
That's what I'm asking.
That's part of the motion. It's in the motion.
Right.
All right, I'll move that we approve and authorize the interim city manager to execute contract number C22-58, an exclusive negotiating agreement by and between the City of San Clemente and Pacific Medical Buildings LLC for the city-owned parcel at the southwest corner of Avenida Vista Hermosa and Avenida La Plata.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will vote in favor of this with the understanding that the city manager will be doing the negotiation.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Ms. Ward?
Yes.
I'm going to have to be a no.
So, 4-1 with Ward as a no.
Oral communications, part 2, I don't have any cards.
Hallelujah.
What?
No cards?
Would you entertain a motion to adjourn?
I will.
We have.
We have, do we need to go through the manager?
No, we
the
did it
other-
already.
Okay.
That's only.
I have one item before we
Yes, sir.
get to that, if I could.
Go ahead.
In light of the discussion this evening about traffic safety, circulation, e-bikes and so forth, it occurred to me that we currently have an action pending relating to the property across from Valero at Palizada and Estrella. And I'm just wondering if we could ask our city traffic engineer, as part of our discussion this evening about transportation, to consider a traffic circle concept at that extremely bottlenecked access off the freeway. I just think in terms of all the places where we need better access, that's probably one. And I think in light of the litigation that's public knowledge and has been filed and is in the process of moving forward, that we at least think about, maybe have the traffic engineer at least look at that intersection, see if there's some way to open that thing up and widen it. Just a thought. I don't know if he's a motion to refer to the traffic engineer or.
I think that's something that you could talk with the city manager and have him talk to the.
Well, I'm
traffic
talking to my counsel about it right now to see if we want to refer it to the city manager
We should-
or the traffic engineer.
I would support referring that to the city manager at this point.
Me too.
Okay, thank you. I
Yeah, not a
appreciate that.
problem. So, Ms. Ward, you had a motion to adjourn.
Yes. Let's see, I had it on the page. I make the motion that we adjourn to an adjourned regular meeting to be held on October 4th, 2022 at 3:00 PM for the purpose of meeting in closed session to review city attorney services. Part 1 of the regular business meeting will commence at 5:00 PM, and closed session will begin at 6:00 PM. Part 2 of the regular business meeting will commence at 7:00 PM. The meeting will take place in the council chambers located at 910 Calle Negocio, second floor, San Clemente.
Second. All in
When
favor?
was the public
Aye.
safety interviews? Okay,
Are we good?
we're good.
New
Thank you.
council chambers and one of the quickest meetings we've ever had. Congratulations, Mayor James.
Nice work.
All right.